This is Dan Schneider on this Dan Schneider video interview. My guest is Daniel Profeta. He's a young man who runs a YouTube channel called Dicon Dissectional reaction videos. He listens to music and he gives his opinions, and they're quite extensive compared to a lot of others in that vein. And we will converse when we get back in a moment. Dicon Dissectional reaction videos. That's what Daniel Profeta calls his YouTube videos, where he takes unusually in-depth look at videos, not only musically but lyrically, and also trying to put them sometimes into a larger cultural context. And he's only 17, so welcome, Daniel. I'd like to ask first, I found your videos about a week or so ago, and I've watched 30 or 40 of them over the last week, and been impressed with your diversity of knowledge. And I'll talk about some of the individual videos first. But first, I want to talk about who you are, how you make the videos, what your goals with the YouTube channels is, and then we'll hit into some of the videos and some of your opinions. Some I agree with, some I don't agree with, and we'll talk about that. But who are you, basically? You're a young man in Georgia. What else do we need to know about you?
Well, I love music. My father got me into lots of different types of music, and this channel that I made, which was originally made so that I could just explore new types of music, which attracted a pretty large group of people to it, has kind of those people have expanded my musical horizons, as I like to say. And I mean, what you need to know about me? Well, I'm hope to become an artist. So, I mean, that's a goal I have.
So when you say that, I know when you've done your, and we'll call them criticism, your critiques, because you do acts of criticism, not necessarily nay or yay, thumbs up, thumbs down, but you try to put them in a larger context. You seem to have a more of a literary bent to you. Are you someone who, when you say you want to be an artist, I know you have some videos where you've played guitar, but is music your art form, or are you just sort of still young and finding your way? Do you want to write a novel, or do you want to make films? Or
so that's actually a pretty good question, because
I try.
yeah, good job. It's has a big answer to it. That's why it's interesting. So I am it's probably the first option that you gave me, which is that I'm still young, still finding my way. Maybe that was the second option, whatever. But right now, in my own head, that's not how I look at it, and I kind of look at it as I want to try to do everything. If I can, I want to make a company that can produce art, and by doing so, be able to do multiple different things, like maybe write books, make movies, or make music. I could branch out into different styles of creating content or making art, and have a company to back that. That's a very ambitious and long-term goal, though. So right now, I'm just trying to do whatever I can do with the tools I have available to me.
And I know oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And in accordance to the literal bent that you were touching on, I love to read. Before I got into all this music, and before I was really able to watch all that much TV, I had books like The Lord of the Rings and some of the bookshelf over there. The background's probably a little messy, but whatever. There's all types of literature that I love to consume. One of my favorite subjects in school is English. So yeah, when I first started learning about music, I focused a lot on lyrics because I thought it was very interesting, songs that had deep lyrics. And since starting my channel, I've come to appreciate the musical aspect of music more and more as time has gone on. But anyway, as you were trying to say, sorry.
Well, I mean, lyrics are certainly related to poetry. Were you into poetry? And
yeah, I was. I like poetry. I had to write my fair share of it too.
So let's talk a little bit about why you wanted to do these videos. I know, having watched a number of the videos, including some where you were talking, one of your live feeds, and then an interview with a fellow named JP or Justin JP.
Justin,
You
yeah.
had you had mentioned several things about why you had started this channel. You'd had like 7 or 8 other YouTube channels that you just got bored with and failed. This is like your 7th or 8th channel? What
Pretty
happened
much,
with
yeah.
those other channels?
So let's see. First, let's just say the first few. I'm not really like bringing any attention to them. I still have a couple that are active, but for the most part, they were very underdeveloped. They were not really prepared. It was just me starting to try to make some type of creative outlet. There was no real structure to it. A lot of it was pretty weird or dumb. And a couple of them gained like 20 or 30 subscribers before I kind of shut them down. Then eventually I made a channel which was based on tabletop role-playing games, like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, because that's a hobby that I enjoyed. And that channel grew at a relatively good pace. For me, it was like mind-blowing that I was able to get like 100 or whatever subscribers on that channel. It took more than a year, but it took some time, but I started to grow it, you know? Then I started this channel while that one was still active. And within like 3 months, the Dicon Dissectional channel had, you know, grown far beyond the first one. And the community that grew up around the Dicon Dissectional channel was a lot more supportive than the community around my first channel. So it was just a natural transition into this channel, which has so far worked relatively well. I mean, it's fun. I enjoy it, and yeah.
I know one of the frustrations that I've had with videos is my website, where I started in 2001, which I guess before you were born, was a few years ahead of the curve of blogs, which you probably, as a kid, as a youngster, blogs were before vlogs, when people actually wrote and read stuff. So my website with the written stuff sort of rode the wave of blogs and got popular. And even today, I have 15, 16-year-old essays that get 1,000 times more views than any videos I put out, because I was behind the curve with videos. Videos I didn't start making until like 2015, which was a decade after YouTube started its rise.
Yeah.
So in one way, I was ahead of the curve, but then with this, I'm behind the curve. And I'll have these interviews with scientists talking about the Big Bang, or religious people talking about, grace, or this, or other concepts like that. And people just don't want to watch intelligent people talking, which I can understand. And these videos are something for the vault. In 50 or 100 years, they'll still be relevant, because you're talking about these timeless things. Whereas when you're doing these dissectional videos, they're more about the moment, your moment that you're in as a youngster at this particular time in 2020 or 2021. And so they're going to be more relevant. But I wanted to ask about, you have complained a number of times in your videos about having to pause music videos because of the wackiness of the YouTube algorithms. Yeah. I know one time I did a show on film noir, and I took 5 film noirs that were in public domain on YouTube and took certain scenes, and they banned it because some asshole in Germany, some asshole in Germany put in a claim against one of the things, and it's like, give me a fucking break. So I've never done that before. What have been some of the frustrations you've had with stuff being taken down? And have you ever had something that was in the public domain, obviously in the public domain, that was taken down because of some idiot in Germany or Zanzibar?
Yeah. Let's see. So my channel, by design, is set up to fail when it comes to the YouTube, their copyright claim system and their blocking system, because I have copywritten music in the videos. Now, for the most part, if I pause a video or a song when I'm listening to it, it's not going to really get blocked. Some artists block more than others do. I'm pretty sure it's all automated, and all the stuff on YouTube that's automated sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, which makes it pretty difficult to accurately predict what the algorithm's going to do. But by pausing it, or sometimes by making it smaller than like being full screen, or a few different things that you can do with the videos and the songs, it will greatly reduce the chances of a video getting blocked. Pretty much all of my videos that have music in them are copyright claimed, which means that any, like ad revenue or whatever will go to the artist, which makes sense. Like I feel like that's totally fair that the artists make money off videos that use their songs. Duh, But what pisses me off is when they, block it or ban it or whatever, when they could copyright claim it, like they could be making money off of it, but instead they ban it.
They're getting basically a 15, 20, 30-minute free commercial because of this song meant something to someone, whether it's you or another. It to me is so ass backwards that it just makes absolutely no sense.
For the most part, I've seen that a lot of artists actually don't really know that this is going on. With two huge exceptions would be Robert Fripp and Don Henley, who like actively try to endorse the blocking of their content, which is an interesting move by them. But I'm not gonna rag on them because the Eagles are great and King Crimson's freaking awesome. So I can overlook that. But for the most part, the artists themselves don't really know too much about how this stuff works, and it's the labels or the big corporations and companies that are doing it.
Yeah.
And
well, because they're the ones who have usually ripped off the artists in the first place. The tales of the artists getting screwed, especially black artists back in the 50s and 60s or earlier than that. I mean, those are legend. Let me just ask then how you actually make the videos. What systems you use to record, how you get that little, if the artist in the corner and you're listening to it, how do you set that up? And if you make a 20-minute video, do you have to record 30 minutes and then you edit it down, or is it basically just off the cuff?
So when I first started, like right when I first started, I was still in the mindset of my other YouTube channel about tabletop role-playing games, where I edited videos and like spent a lot of time making, I guess, the thumbnails or whatever for them. So I use a program called Open Broadcast Software, or OBS, which is free. It's a really nice, useful recording software that I link my webcam, my microphone back in the day. It's not really back in the day, but a while ago it was this thing, and now I have this. And when I first started, I did edit it a lot more. Something that's cool about OBS is it allows you to create what it calls scenes, and then you can toggle between the scenes. So I start with a blank screen, or a black screen with some white text superimposed over it that just like says the name of my channel or whatever, and then says presents, or whatever I put on there. Then I have another scene where every time I make a video, I'll go and type in the name of the artist and the song or the album that I'm reacting to and critiquing or whatever. And then I have the third scene, which has my camera, and down in the corner, I'm able to, this part took a long time to figure out, but once I got it, now I've left it as it is. But down in the corner of the screen, I'm able to put a capture from a video or song or whatever. As I said a minute ago, I used to edit a lot more. Now, for the most part, my videos are more off the cuff, as you put it. I don't really edit them unless every once in a while I'll be doing a video and I'll go down a rabbit hole where I'll just be like reading something, or I'll finish the video and think to myself, that was a lot of empty space in there. Like, that was a lot of dead space. I should go in and edit that. So sometimes I'll edit it. For the most part, though, I've started to come into this. I've started to have a complete idea of what type of videos I'm making, So when I start recording, I know I'm going to say my introduction. There might be some variation, but it's still, a set introduction. Then I'm going to start the song, pause it once, maybe say like a sentence or two of a comment and let it finish. Then give my dissection or whatever while using either genius.com or songfacts.com to like add context to what I'm saying and also give me context because for the most part I'm hearing these songs for the first time, so I don't half the times I have no idea what I'm even talking about. And then because I have that set idea of what my videos are going to be, they're not going to have as much dead space as they might have back when I first started. So anyway, for the most part, I don't edit too much. And I also don't really make thumbnails because that was very time consuming, and now I'll just spend the time making more videos.
Well, in this first little segment, I want to end before we talk about some of your actual videos and some of your larger ideas and philosophies about music and music videos. I wanted to just ask you, other than other music reactors, do you ever listen to other music sites? And I'll give you 3 examples that I find quite interesting. One, there's a guy from England, a young man probably in his early mid-20s called David Bennett, and he does these piano lessons, and he does I guess he's a piano teacher and a pianist, and he will dissect the Beatles, he'll dissect Beethoven, Mozart, and I've learned quite a bit from watching him. So he's number 1. And then there's a second guy named Rick Beato. I don't know if you ever heard.
Rick Beato. Yes, love him.
He's got millions of followers, and he's I think he testified in front of Congress about blockers and whatnot. Yep. And the third one I wanted to mention, there's a band called Wings of Pegasus with a British. Oh, Phil. So you know 2 of the 3. So of the 2 that you do know, what are your thoughts about Phil from Wings of Pegasus and Rick Beato?
So Wings of Pegasus, when he first started like doing his stuff, it was it's interesting how that channel has evolved over time. Like I think when it first started, it was like more unscripted. Then as it went along, it became more like I think it became more scripted. And both like eras of the channel are both super interesting to me. But yeah, he does a really good job of breaking songs down. He's very he knows a lot. He's a very knowledgeable guy.
His music actually sounds like 80s stuff. I mean, he's got that 80s vibe, and he plays all the goddamn instruments.
Yep. Now Wings of Pegasus, I actually have only seen maybe 5 or 10 videos of his. With Rick Beato, I've watched maybe I don't know how many, but I'm gonna guess at like a third or half of the videos he has on this channel. I love Rick Beato. I watch him a lot. His What Makes This Song Great series, where I don't know how he does it, but he'll just have a guitar with him, and he'll just be he can match anything. He recently made videos where he just like listens to whatever the top 10 songs on the Billboard Top 100 or whatever are, and he instantly like learns them in like a minute, where he's saying he's never heard them before, and it takes him a minute to figure it out, but then he's got it. I don't know if that's a testament to the simplicity of the songs on the top of the Billboard 100 or but they're both very, very knowledgeable, very capable musicians. Rick Beato, he has like a book, right?
Yeah, he's got like books and tapes and videos, I guess. The one criticism I do have of Rick Beato, and I took my own "Why This Film Is Great" from his "What Makes This Song Great," is that I wish he would. He's great with the instruments, and he can reproduce it, and he explains, for example, the fuzz sound or this or that. But I wish he would step back, and I don't know if he understands it, but I wish he would say, well, in that Jimi Hendrix song, when you hear that makes a listener think about this, which enhances that. So I wish he would do a little bit more of the psychological background about how the effects in music affect someone, because I know I'm a poet and writer, and I've run poetry groups, and online I get 2,000 emails a week from people wanting me to critique their stuff. But when I get something from someone, I try to say, look, this poem is very generic. 10,000 people could have written it. Where is the you in it, in there? And so I wish he would do a little bit more of that, because he's very great. He's really good on the technical explanations of how to play a riff or something. But I wish he would talk about the effect of it. And the reason I bring this up is because one of the things that I appreciate about your videos, even at your youthful age, is that especially when you're talking about the lyrics, more so than the music, but when you dig into the lyrics, you can follow the course of your mind, trying to put the pieces together. So that was just my comment about the lyrics, though. To what degree do you place a greater emphasis on the lyrics or the musical aspects, or do you try to fuse them both?
In my opinion, it depends on what I'm listening to. And in my own videos, I probably put greater emphasis on lyrics when I do it because I don't know enough. Like, I know how to play guitar, right?
Yeah.
I have guitar, I know how to play a little bit of keys, but for the most part, I've learned by ear and by self-teach. I was mostly self-taught, and because of that, I actually don't know like how to express myself very well when it comes to talking about I guess the intricacies of music. So when I'm listening to a song or when I talk about music, I'll tell the viewers how it made me feel. I'll tell them what I like. I'll just say, "Oh, the guitar solo was awesome," or "I really like that riff," or stuff like that. But I can't really like tell you, "Here's the name of the chord,"
Yeah.
"Here's the Roman numeral for the chord," or however that works. Here's all the theory and the technical stuff that goes into it, because I just don't know. I'm not knowledgeable in that arena yet. I'm hoping to become more so as time goes on. But so because of that, I probably focus on lyrics a little bit more in my videos. But it will obviously depend if I'm listening to King Crimson or Pink Floyd or Yes, the music. Hopefully, there's more emphasis on the music. But where I'm listening to, let me think, Bob Dylan or Harry Chapin or like a singer-songwriter, then more emphasis on lyrics, So, yeah.
So let's talk about some of your videos that I've watched and some of your opinions about music in general. First off, you're young enough, or I'm old enough that I remember when there really weren't music videos. To what degree does the visual aspect of a music video affect you or not? I'll give you an example. When I think you watched the James Blunt video on monsters with his father. Did you do that one? That's one of half a dozen or so videos that everyone reviews. Now, I think there's a really big difference. If you don't watch the video and you just listen to it, it's a good song. But when you watch that video and midway you see him transition to his father sitting there, that sort of inclines you more, and it's sort of an emotional wallop. So to what degree, have there ever been videos that you've seen? Well, yeah, the video is, I mean, obviously if it's just the lyrics, but how much emphasis in reviewing a music video do you place in the video versus the music?
That's an interesting, another really good question. Let me think. So, I think that since the music video has started, people have been using it more since like MTV and stuff like that has brought emphasis to music videos. I think that there are definitely cases. That was a great example with James Blunt's song "Monsters," where a good music video or a powerful music video can very greatly enhance the emotional impact of a song. However, for the most part, and I'm not sure if this opinion came from me or if it came from like reading comments and then I agreed with those comments. It's interesting how other people's like suggestions kind of affect my own perception sometimes. So I really did not even think too much about how much the music video was affecting stuff until I started to see comments sometimes when I do a terrible music video and people would be like, the music video takes away from the music itself. So for the most part, I don't pay too much attention to videos in my own reactions or dissections or whatnot, because a lot of times Those videos are made by a studio that might not have had that much of the artist's input. Sometimes the videos are, especially when music videos and MTV first started, stuff like, I don't know, Rush, Time Stand Still, the music video for that,
Yeah.
or Romeo and Juliet, the Dire Straits, and the music video for that. Just some pretty cheesy or like just the beginning of music video type videos. I tend to ignore those as much as I can. I don't want to be distracted from the what the artist is, singing about and telling me. But then, in the case of something like James Bond Monsters, you've got a lot more emphasis on the video because he has his father in the video. Exactly what you've mentioned prior. So yeah, for the most part, I try to ignore videos unless they catch my attention and add to the emotional impact of the song.
Yeah, well, that Rush Time Stand Still video, I'm old enough. I remember when Aimee Mann, who's an indie singer, she was big in the 80s. I'm old enough to have my tongue drool over her in that video, but the cheesy effects, with them just whirling around, it's obviously 35 years ago or whatever it's been. But there are some videos that are really excellent. And another song that you reviewed was the Rolling Stones' Paint It Black. And I think that's the official video where you have the splotches of the color. And it's a great song. And I think you're trying to figure out the lyrics, whether it's about someone at a funeral, which is the obvious interpretation, but there's deeper meaning to it. It's a very simple video because all it is the words, and it looks like someone, throwing paint against something. A video like that, which was obviously made decades after the song came out, what is your impact that particular video? How did that impact you? Because I remember, if I'm correct, you were trying to piece together the meanings of the lyrics in that one.
So, and that's actually true of, I think, every Stones song that I've reacted to so far has had a video like that, where it's mostly the lyrics, and then the way the lyrics are being presented in the video. In Paint It Black, it was like, the paint. In Sympathy for the Devil, it was like dragging out the words that were coming up, and it was it had imagery that kind of correlated with the song. I thought those were pretty interesting. I liked the presentation of those videos. They added to the overall aesthetic of the song. They added to the feeling that you were getting. They weren't. Let me see. And this is just my opinion, as is anything that I say. But in my opinion, they were not super like deep. Like they just added a visual effect that kind of enhanced the song a little bit. And since I was already focusing on lyrics, it just made sense to use the lyric video. The Rolling Paint It Black. It's a great song. I've listened to Paint It Black quite a few times since I actually reacted to it. It's a really good song. Anyway, yeah.
You also do a lot of deep cuts, and I'm trying to remember because I've watched a lot of videos and video reactions over the last year. I believe, are you the person, and I should have prepared more, but you seem to have found Kansas, the band Kansas, to be quite good. Is that correct?
It is very, very much so. Yes,
I think you do. You list in one of the videos Magnum Opus as the best song. Yeah, because it always amazed me how they didn't get their due. And you do what would be referred to by disc jockeys as deep cuts. Is that you're not just reviewing the most popular songs of a band. You did Carry On, Wayward Son. And Dust in the Wind, which are probably the two biggest hits in terms of. But you've also done. I don't know if you've done
Magnum Opus.
You've done Magnum Opus, Cheyenne Anthem, right? Did you do Cheyenne Anthem?
Did I?
I'm not sorry. Closet Chronicles is another big, longer song that they've done. But you've done 4 or 5 videos there.
Yeah.
And I think you said your father turned you on to Kansas, right?
He started me on it, you know, like
Yeah.
he didn't, I don't think that he knew the extent of how, like he just knew pretty much, you know, Carry On My Wayward Son was like, hey, this song's
Yeah.
awesome. You should listen to it, you know? So, I don't think that he knew stuff like Magnum Opus or,
Yeah.
what's it called? Wings of Icarus or the Icarus song. I can't
Okay.
remember.
So
Yeah.
when you discover a band in some like Kansas that is less well known than say the Rolling Stones, how does that affect you when do you have that moment where you go, wow?
Yes, I did. When I was listening to it, and I thought exactly what you said a few minutes ago, where you said they didn't really get their due. Yeah, they're an incredible prog group, you know,
Yeah.
but people don't um, seem to mention them as much as some of the other prog groups. They definitely seem to have. Let's see, they have like a what is it? There's like a fantasy or fantastical aspect of a lot of their music that's more fantastical in a more epic fantasy, where like Yes also seems to have fantastical undertones, but
Yeah.
they're more mysterious or larger than life. Where Kansas makes you feel like you're the larger than life thing
Yeah.
almost. It's interesting.
And I think there's one of the songs where you're talking about the left and right speakers and the whirling around your head, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
that Magnum Opus?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Stereo effects are awesome. The panning, so cool.
Now, since you have come with a fresh ear to 60s and 70s groups, and I think you did Chicago 25 or 6 to 4, you must notice that a lot of the bands that hit into the 60s and 70s, once they hit the 80s, they went south. The Rolling Stones did disco, Foreigner, Boston, Journey, REO Speedwagon. They all went from rock groups to sort of these limp ballads. Chicago, you know, you're the inspiration rather than their jazzy based stuff. Um, uh, uh, Jefferson
Yeah.
Airplane became Starship. What is your take as someone who is totally removed from that? Do you wonder what the hell happened in the 80s to these great groups?
So so right now, with, and this is what I kind of try to relate it to. Popular music right now in the past couple of years has seen some new effects in music, like new effects that producers are using, stuff uh, heavily auto-tuned
Yeah.
vocals or things like I don't just new, like I guess you would call them genres maybe of music that really weren't explored yet, I guess. So because of that, all the popular music right now, in my opinion, or most popular music right now, in my opinion, it's not that great.
Yeah.
You know, kind of not my thing. I'm trying to relate when all the bands turned when they went into the 80s and they changed their sound. Kind of reminds me how all these groups right now are trying to get on this bandwagon of the new sound, you know.
Yeah.
So 80s we had like the synths and the ballads and love songs and the more cheesy, more yeah. I think that in the 80s, that was what became popular. And that was what you had to do to stay relevant, is kind of switch to that style. While in retrospect, it looks like they kind of sold out or kind of went bad in a way.
Or as we would say in the 80s, they pussified their music.
Yeah, exactly. They made it for the masses who were, I guess, looking for something different. Because rock has always been an alternative form of music for the most part.
Which is
You know,
why
like
grunge, Nirvana, what you're wearing,
yeah,
which is why grunge was so big in the 90s. It was a revolt against that.
yes, and I mean, I'm pretty sure through were there bands through the 80s that stayed true to their roots? I'm not.
Well, Guns N' Roses, they came a few years before grunge, and their first album, what was it, Appetite for
Appetite for
Destruction,
Destruction.
what just blew the chain. I mean, that it for the first year it was out, it didn't do anything. Then the big hit, Welcome to the Jungle, came, and for like a year and a half, it was in the top 20. But
Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, like the end of the 80s has some has some cool music. But
There's a band you should listen to called Love Hate, uh,
Love
that
Hate.
did Love Hate, Love slash Hate. There's a guy. His stage name was Jizzy Pearl. Great rock singer. Those first three albums that they made before they broke up, they never got big. But if you ever Love Hate, their biggest song was called Blackout in the Red Room. But just to get back to the '80s, everything went south in the arts in the '80s. New Hollywood, the films got bad.
Yeah.
Television, after the '60s and '70s of exploring different things, television got bad. Uh, Literature went off the cliff. Poetry, novels. You were not going to find a great novel in the last 40 years that wasn't written or published by someone who didn't start before. And then music, like you said, with the autotune, which leads me to my next question, is that another of the videos, and I think you reviewed it, I'm 95% sure, that goes around is the 1965 live performance by the Righteous Brothers with the one fellow singing Unchained Melody. I think you
Yeah.
did that. And that's even better than the recorded version. And the thing is, this guy knew how to sing. And if you remember in that video, when he comes to the end, he doesn't do that Mariah, Whitney, Celine Dion over the top where he holds the note for 30 seconds. He holds the note for about 7 or 8 seconds, ends it, and he sort of bites his lip because he knows he nailed the performance. And this might be even more this might be the most popular video to react to, because there's a whole video called Black People React to Blue Eyed Soul, where they're listening to him and you see black people reacting to him doing that. And it's such a great performance. And most people do point out that there was no auto-tune there. And I don't know if we had shows where there was live television, could these rap stars, could these little pop girls, Demi Lovato, could they actually sing like that without these enhancements, without lip syncing? I don't know. What is your take on something like this back from the '60s versus these modern singers?
All right, let me think. So I'm positive that there are still singers today. Maybe they're not at the forefront or in the limelight right now. I think we're going to see some type of resurgence. Something's coming up here.
Everything's
I don't know.
cyclical. So
Yeah, I think we're going to see a resurgence. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I think it will at least get a little bit better than it has been. I think that there are underrated or underground groups that do still do what, even if it's still more modern than stuff in the '70s, they still know how to play their instruments and know how to sing or, do all that stuff very well. Now, when it comes to good artists or like the lil rap stars who said, could they sing like something like Unchained Melody? I'm gonna say probably not.
Yeah.
I think that the effects on their voices, it's interesting how it's almost like pop stars are created. It's like I feel like they find these people who have something of a following, who are like relatable to younger people, and then they try to take them and make them as commercialized as possible and like into a product almost. That's my probably kind of cynical take on it, but still, it's interesting how they use all these effects to try to make it sound good, I guess. I actually don't really like those effects, though, for the most part. I don't really think that auto-tune makes it sounds more fake when they do that,
Yeah, well, I'm bringing up some of these points because towards in the next section, I want to talk about some videos that I didn't think were good videos or well sung. And I think part of it has to do with what I would call overproduction. And it goes back to the Whitney and Mariah stuff. There's a song where Mariah Carey, at one point, and I'm not a Mariah Carey fan, although I did know a woman who was once Mariah Carey's roommate. But there's a song from the early '90s where she's doing like, I can't even do it. She does like this little, it's like electronic effect sounds with her voice, and it has no emotional gravitas to the song that she's singing, and it's just her way of showing off, which is why I get back to the Unchained Melody, where the guy didn't have to hold the note for 30 seconds to show, I'm a great singer. You knew it. He didn't have to show off. And what songs, whether they're in videos or not, stick in your mind as the artist being overproduced or being or just just doing too much?
Um, it depends, because in my opinion, when you've got something like Mariah Carey or the singers who like, well, in your words, like show-offy singers,
Yeah,
um, I think that there's an element to those type of singers that people gravitate towards. It's like a talent show, it is them, almost like they're in a competition, seeing who can what Eminem's trying to rap the fastest, Mariah Carey's holding a note for 30 seconds, stuff like that,
yeah.
where they try to, exactly what you said, show off and kind of break records or show their ability. Let me think, who else does this? Like groups that I know. I think Linkin Park, Chester Bennington holds a note, like a scream or something, for 17 seconds in a song called Given Up. Uh, Tool Maynard holds a note for way too long in The Grudge. Let me see what else. There's
Well, I'm sure probably the granddaddy of all this is, if you know classical music or neoclassical music, back in the 40s or 50s, John Cage, the composer, did 4 minutes and 23 seconds, I think it's called, where there's nothing. It's silence, but it's whatever the ambient sound in the audience is. And it's the ultimate gimmick. It's like, give me a break.
it's, I guess sometimes gimmicks help. Yeah, I don't know. For the most part, I agree with you. But I also can see where people would be attracted to, the gimmick, because it's something new. It's something different. And every time there's a new gimmick invented, something like, I don't know. Here's an example. In this movie example, we have more realistic CGI. Since more realistic CGI has come out, there's been movie after film after film after film that have been the focus of the film. There is a plot, obviously,
Yeah.
but the actors don't have to be particularly good. The plot doesn't have to be incredible or mind-blowing or even that emotion, even anything that evokes emotions. It just has to look cool. There's a novelty to seeing these like CGI worlds that these computers create, and I think that eventually the gimmick wears off and maybe people learn to use it more tastefully, or just have it as a tool instead of as the main focus, and that's when they work the best. But
in fact, a couple of months ago, I did an interview with a fellow who has a YouTube channel called Tunerific Tariq. He's a young man who dissects cartoons from Charlie Brown to the Bugs Bunny and other stuff. And we were talking about just that there's a certain lack of humanity or soullessness in these computerized figures, because there isn't a human hand actually drawing it. So that's sort of what you mean. I want to talk about a couple of other videos, and then we'll end this segment and get on to the final segment. There's a video that you did with the song You Keep Me Hanging On. First you did the Supremes version, and then you did the Vanilla Fudge version. And I thought it was really good that you spotted the sexual aspect, that the Supremes, the more upbeat one, is sort of the woman washing that man out of her hair kind of thing. And then the Vanilla Fudge version, which I prefer, probably because I'm a man, but I love the Supremes. I love Diana Ross. But there's more of that emotional angst, and
there's a lot of anger and angst.
They make it an opera rather than just a pop song, and that's, for my money, a great example of a great cover, because it does something different, but it sticks true to the lyrics, and it shows how the lyrics can. And I'm going to mention a video where I don't think the cover does justice to the original, as but that one by the Vanilla Fudge, really is a great example of a cover. Tell me your thoughts about that one, when you did 2 in 1.
It's very interesting that you bring this up, because when was it? Was it yesterday? It was the day before yesterday. I had to go out to set to do some acting work, and it was like an hour away. And on the way there, me and my dad were listening to Sirius XM. And on channel 26, which is I think the classic rock station, they played "You Keep Me Hanging On" by Vanilla Fudge from the beginning, and I almost like I was like, oh, this song is really good, right? But I'd forgotten how powerful and emotionally charged and how musically complex that song was. And how long it was, and we just like jammed out to that for like it was really cool. Anyway, so yeah, I definitely think that and I say this in my videos where I do cover comparisons. When I first started, and that was actually the very first video where I did a cover and compared it to the original. Since then, my way of doing that has changed a little bit, because having two songs in one video makes it more likely that one of those is going to have something weird happen to it. So instead, I just split them up into two videos.
Yeah.
And then I did it with the 9 Inch Nails and Johnny Cash "Hurt." Another, in my opinion, example of a fantastic cover. But yeah, the Vanilla Fudge, like you already touched on, there is, at least I heard, a difference in interpretation of what the words of the song are saying, you know? And from the Supremes version, it was from the lady's perspective, where she's, you know, trying to get it felt like it was from a woman's perspective. Then from the Vanilla Fudge's version, I could see this guy like pacing in his room, like just like you said, full of angst, full of like he's angry, he's like there's screaming or crying or whatever, you know. It was very interesting. I thought, like you said, I feel like I'm basically just reiterating what you've already touched on, but there is definitely, that is an incredible example of a cover that is tastefully done, you know, where they take the original and morph it into something different or something else. Because when a cover just copies an original song, why was the cover made? Really?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get to that point in the next segment. But before, I want to close this segment out and ask you a standard question, which is, what was the first concert you ever went to? Because you covered a video of a band that was not my first, but maybe my second concert. My first concert, I went to a band called Motorhead, and then the group that opened for them was called the Gods, Godz, the Gods. One of the worst rock groups of all time. If you Google the Gods and you want to just do a video about bad lyrics, bad singing, they are hilarious. Running, what's their one minor hit? It was like number 182 on the top 100 or something. But you'll find the Gods terrible. My second concert was watching Barry Manilow with a girl I even forget her name these 40 some years on. So I went from Motorhead to Barry Manilow in my first two concerts, and then it must have been my third concert. I saw Blue Oyster Cult.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, you did Godzilla, and they actually played around the New York area under a pseudonym so that the places wouldn't get sold out. They were called Soft White Underbelly. That was their stage
awesome
name, Blue Oyster Cult. But Godzilla, I grew up as a Godzilla fan in the 60s and 70s watching those shows. But you also did Don't Fear the Reaper, I think, and a couple of, you've done 3 or 4 BOC songs.
I want to do more. They seem that they have a devoted fan base, and I really like the music that they play. I really like it. But yeah, I've done a couple of them. Your question, if I remember correctly, was what was my first concert?
Yeah.
And for the most part, I have not really been to that many concerts. I've been to a couple festivals, like music festivals, but when I started this channel, when I was like 13 or 14, my dad started introducing me to more types of music. But up until 13 and 14 years of age, I listened to pretty much nothing but contemporary Christian music. So I've been to a couple music festivals. All of them were in that genre for the most part. I think one was more Christian rock music, which was, that was fun. That was a fun concert. There were like all day concerts that we go or into the night that we'd go to with, you know, the whole family would go. There'd be like vendors and stuff. It was, like I said, more of a festival than necessarily a single group with like an opener playing a concert. But then this past year or 2 years, almost, it feels like it's been 2 years by this point, but this past year would have been when I would go to like my first concert. But then the pandemic hit, and there just hasn't been anything to go to. So yeah, for the most part, I'm still waiting to go to a rock concert or any type of concert, really.
Have you ever heard of a all-female group called Celtic Woman?
I think I actually have. I don't know if I've.
Because that was the last concert my wife and I went to about a decade ago. So.
Okay. A decade ago. Wow. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I want to go to a concert soon, and I feel like it'd be cool if I like It's interesting how YouTube or making these videos or making any type of video changes things, you know? Yeah. So if I was to go to a concert, it'd be cool if before I actually went to it, I made like a video, and then after going to the concert and getting back home, I would make another video and then put them together where it'd be like, all right, here's me going into this. This is my first like rock concert, and then getting back and saying, here's the experience, here were the people who played, here's what I thought of it. You know, it's just interesting how this type of medium, we're talking over Skype right now. It's so interesting and weird, because I grew up for the most part without the internet, because I still don't have a phone. Now I have a computer, but I was not allowed on the internet. So a lot of things that are on the internet are it's just mind-boggling to me how some of this stuff works. Anyway.
So in this final segment, I want to talk about, we'll wrap up some of the threads that I left dangling in some of the earlier segments. I want to talk about 3 or 4 videos that I disagreed with your opinion and why. Number one, I earlier stated that music reaction videos, especially when someone like you or this fellow JP or Rick Beato or someone goes in and looks at a video, you're doing an act of criticism. It may not be yay, nay, good, bad, but you are trying to put it into a larger context so someone can appreciate something. But I've noticed that in all the videos that I've seen of yours and most music videos, I rarely see negative reactions. And I wonder, do you listen to some songs and if you go, oh God, that's shit, you know, like I mentioned this band, The Gods, you can't listen to them and think they were a good band. Do you just then don't do a video because you don't want to be negative, or do you feel that you don't have the ability to dissect why it's bad and you don't want to hurt someone's reputation or something? What?
Let me think about that. All right, so I know for a fact I've done a couple. I'm not even gonna say what the songs were, what the bands were, but I've done a few videos where I recorded a whole video and then decided not to upload it because I thought, you know what, this isn't really going to add anything, and it will probably just, because every single group, I'll bet, even like you were saying, the Gods have fans. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm going to say,
I'm sure that they're probably passed out in a room somewhere.
Yeah, but they still do, you know, and for the most part, people who like a group are going to be the ones who are looking and watching reaction videos to them. So if I make a video and I just hate whatever I just listened to, I probably just won't upload it. And a couple of times I had mixed thoughts on a song. For example, Kate Bush, what song was it? Suspended in Gaffa, and the song Alice's Restaurant was another one that I had mixed opinions.
The Bob Dylan version or the Kate Bush version?
Alice's Restaurant's
Arlo Guthrie, that's right. It wasn't Dylan, you're right.
And I think I just didn't. So for Alice's Restaurant, I still liked the song, but I did not understand the historical context of what the song was. You know, as a protest of the draft. You know, and just I did not really understand what the song was when I went into it. and it was like, you know, that song. How long is that song? Is it like 18 minutes long?
Yeah,
Or
it's a
something?
long song. I don't know. It's not.
Um,
I think it's almost as long as Inagata Devita. It's
yeah,
long.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
longer than the end, which the '60s were filled with these long epics.
I like epics.
Yeah,
I like epics.
yeah.
Inagata Devita is another one that I've heard, and the end. Another two that I've heard many
And Iron
times. Is,
Butterfly has some really deep cuts too that you should.
do
Because
they? All
everyone
right.
only knows Inagata Devita. But anyway, go
Okay.
ahead.
Um, but let's see. So for Kate Bush, I don't know what it is with that song specifically because I've heard a couple of other songs by her, and they were significantly better in my opinion than Suspended and Gappa. And I guess I just didn't really like the delivery. I'd never heard a Kate Bush song before, so I was very taken aback by her, just I guess, way of singing and the way the music worked and everything. Um, Lyrically, I liked the song, and I talked about the lyrics, but I also said this is not what I'd normally listen to, and gave a mixed opinion on it. And that video got like a bunch of people in the comments just getting, you know, being upset by
Assholes.
what I said, which
Yeah.
is, to be honest, that makes sense. So I try not to be overly critical of things. I try to find positives even in things that I don't necessarily love. And if I hate something, I probably just won't upload a reaction to it, to answer your question. And I'm going to bet most people also do that. I know there's one reactor. There's one reactor who like calls his channel Honest Reactions.
Yeah, yeah. I know who you mean. I don't remember the name. Yeah.
And at first I liked his channel. Like I watched a couple of videos. And again, what I'm about to say is just my opinion. If anyone likes him, you know, that's totally cool. And the opinion I'm about to express isn't even that strong. But I watched a few of his videos and thought it was cool. But then I watched more and realized that he's like negative in every single one of them.
Yeah,
And just kind of thought,
it's an easy trap to fall into. I know when I've done for many years did criticism of all sorts of arts films and whatnot, and I've always been honest and upfront about, you know, if it's good, I'll tell you it's good. If it's not, it's not. But it is an easy trap. There are film critics, for example, that are always negative, that made their careers on being negative, and
being negative. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
it's an easy trap to fall into.
And that I don't really love that aspect of it.
Yeah.
And then aside from him, I also don't really like. I used to watch more reaction videos. I really the time that I probably spent watching them, I now spend making them.
Yeah.
And I also watch other videos on YouTube now. And yeah, so but anyway, yeah, I haven't really seen too many negative reactions either.
Yeah.
And I mean, that makes sense. I understand why other people wouldn't want to upload themselves just like ragging on a band, because the bands, they all have fans, and those fans are the ones who are going to be watching the video.
Well, I think the fact that most 99% of videos are positive, for good or ill, is a part of the, if you want to call it, music reaction phenomenon online. But now I want to talk about two videos that were remakes or covers, and I know that you had positive things to say about it. And I want to say that I think both of them were not good remakes, not good covers, and why, and see if you agree, and if you can remember what your opinion was. The first one was Lauryn Hill. And The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is cited as a landmark 90s album, and I knew people who adored Lauryn Hill. She was with the Fugees, was her band. And then she went out on her own and became even bigger. But I don't think in 25 years she's released anything that nearly had that impact. And yet when I've listened to her songs, I'm just blown away by the fact that how banal she is as a rapper. And you did that Burt Bacharach song. What is it? The one that you did her video. Oh God.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Wait.
and the thing is, it's basically just the Burt Bacharach version with a little hip hop beats. It doesn't move the song beyond to anything deeper. It does, you know, it's like what like you had said. Why was this video made? This is just sort of a watered down rap version of a much better 60s songs. And Burt Bacharach, if your father hasn't told you, in the 1960s there were three major genres of music. There was the British invasion, Motown, and everything else by Burt Bacharach, basically.
When it comes to that specific thing that I did, I don't think I knew it was a cover until the end of the video.
Oh, okay.
I think I went into it with thinking like people asked me to react to Lauryn Hill, and I went. And another thing was I think the Rolling Stones or the Rolling not the Rolling Stones, Rolling Stone, the magazine, recently had released their like top 500 albums. Their updated top 500 albums, and this album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, was on it.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people were also telling me at the time that I'm not diverse enough in my selections, that I
Yeah.
choose only white men to react to.
Yeah.
So I needed to, I was thinking to myself, I look back, that was like, I didn't really intend to like do that or like be offensive in any way when it came to that. But I look back and I saw, yeah, for the most part, they were right. I was not doing that many female artists or artists that weren't white. So I was looking for ways to expand the musical diversity that I was intaking as, you know, as myself. One second. Hey, Dad. And
But
also,
to be fair, you don't do jazz or classical either.
Well, when it comes to jazz, isn't jazz for the most part I wouldn't have much to say about it, would I? I mean, I
don't
would
know.
like it. I would probably like
I've just met you, Daniel. You have mysteries to plumb.
But anyway, to bring it back to my point a minute ago. So I was looking and I just typed in The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill into YouTube.
Yeah.
So I found this song because I didn't want to do whatever the first song that comes up is. You mentioned that I try to do like deep tracks and stuff. For the most part, I do. Like if people ask me to react to an artist, I'll type the artist's name into YouTube and look for a video that isn't the top video or isn't the one with 100 million views or whatever. I'll look for the next one down or some further down. So I did, and the song was "Don't Keep Me Hanging On." Is that or no? Not that.
No, it's
it was,
Can't Take My Eyes Off of You.
Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. Thank you. And I had no idea it was a cover. So I reacted to it, I listened to it, then at the end of the video I saw that it was a cover, and people in the comments were telling me, you've got to do the original of this. So then I reacted to the original, which I agree with you. The original is like, in my opinion, better. I like
Was that with Dionne Warwick? That was the singer of Many Burt Back. Was it Dionne Warwick's version?
Oh, I think it was Valley's version. Frankie Valli.
Okay, Frankie Valli. Okay. Yeah, okay. Now I want to get to the video that annoys me, and not your opinion, but the video that annoys me 10 times more than Lauryn Hill. And it's one of these videos that's always on reaction videos, and it's always praised. And I think it's just absolute garbage that doesn't understand the lyrics of the song, and that's Disturbed, The Sound of Silence. It's over the top. It's bombastic. It's everything bad about 1980s rock brought into the teens, and the presentation of it, not only the singing, but the presentation, and it's a finely enough sung piece, but the artist doesn't have any clue about what the lyrics seem to mean. And if you listen to the Simon and Garfunkel version, it's so infinitely superior. And I'm not saying that because it's the 60s, but it's like if you took a Christian hymn and all of a sudden had naked girls dancing and made it into some porno video. It's like totally out there. So I know you had a positive review of that. What was your take? And did your dad ever see that? What was your dad's opinion about it? But go on to yours first.
I mean, my dad, I think for the most part agreed with me. He watched it. He might have even seen it before I did, or saw it before I did. Now, I do like the Simon and Garfunkel version better, and that's probably the one that I gravitate towards more often. But at the same time, that's an interesting correlation that you made. And obviously, this is just a discussion. I kind of disagree with you on this.
That's fine.
And so, Disturbed's video, it is over the top. It is, like, what'd you say, bombastic. It is big. Like, everything about it's big. It's all, like, in black and white, and then they go onto this island where these people can't talk, and they have to, save them and all this other stuff. For the most part, what I got out of it was Simon and Garfunkel's came from the time period it came out of. You know, like Simon and Garfunkel's Sound of Silence was giving the people a warning of what was coming and what was happening and how people were being stifled. You know, this is a very deep song, very intricate song that I think I could have spent an hour dissecting and still have only like scratched the surface of it, which is the case of a lot of Simon and Garfunkel songs. I love Simon and Garfunkel, but Disturbed took it to a place in modern times where what Simon and Garfunkel were warning against came to pass. And it felt like they were calling on people to wake up to that fact and kind of break down the walls and destroy the chains and untape your mouths, and that it felt like it was products of different time periods that were taking the same song and spinning it to a relevant at the time message, I guess. Also, Disturbed's version, interestingly enough, was not metal like a lot of their other songs are. You know, like for the most part, Disturbed, Down with the Sickness, or what's the other one I reacted to? Stricken. Very aggressive, very angry, very almost new metal genre type music. And then their cover of Simon and Garfunkel's song, he like has operatic vocals and it's interesting. I liked the cover.
Now let me just ask you something, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I have to in a certain sense, is because one of the things that I found reading comments about the Disturbed video from other music reactors and the original Disturbed video, they say there's always a commenter who's spamming all the sites saying Simon and Garfunkel was a warning. This is the reality that came to pass. So I'm just wondering, did you pick up that meme from there, or is that something that you figured out? Because you seem to have picked up that meme, and I personally, like I said, there's someone from whatever record company Disturbed is with that is spamming all the sites with that thing. And that's another thing that annoys me, is like, let people make up their own minds. Don't.
Let me think. So I did read the comment that you're talking about.
And it's the same guy over all of YouTube. He spammed about 1,200 versions of it. And I just want to wring this person's neck if I ever met him.
But I don't think that let me think. That's an interesting question, because earlier in the video I did touch on the fact that other people's opinions, when I read the comments, have affected my own opinions before. But I think I said something along those lines in the video itself before reading any comments, or before. There is an element of that. I believe there is an element of that. Maybe it's not as much as whoever this person that's spamming in the comments or whatever. You said it's a guy from their record label. That'd be freaking hilarious.
Wow. I'm certain of it, because you can't see the same Simon and Garfunkel was the one. It's the same meme. It's someone trying to generate a meme. He or she might use different things, but different handles or whatnot. But I don't want to dwell on it too much. But to wrap things up, I wanted to just ask a couple of other questions here, because I recommend your site to people, especially to younger people, because you're a good example to younger people to sit down, especially in this age of COVID, since you have more time to explore things a bit more deeply. You don't have to go out and see everything that's the latest and the greatest. There's a backlog of not only great songs and artists, but films, television shows. I did a show a few years ago where I said the real golden age of television was the 60s and 70s, and I'll stand by that. But let me ask, what artists or what do you want to expand out to something like classical music? Do a few videos like that. That fellow JP that I mentioned, Justin JP, has a couple of classical music videos that he's done. Are you going to stick with pop and rock music, or what?
I eventually, and this is something that I'm going to bet the majority of my fan base probably disagrees with me on this, but whatever. I think that I'm of the opinion, and maybe it's an overly optimistic opinion, but I think that in every genre of music, there's probably going to be a dark side of the moon. There's probably going to be an album or some artist that's a cut above the rest who makes interesting music, even if it's not in a genre I normally listen to. That goes for jazz, that goes for classical, that'll go for hip hop or R&B or when I finally get into more Motown, it'll go for that. It'll go for everything, you know. So I want to expand into pretty much any genre that I'm interested in checking out, because for me, while I do take requests from viewers and I do have a community that's been built up around my channel, I made this channel and I'm trying to stay true to this main reason of I'm trying to explore stuff because I want to explore it, you know, because I'm interested in it. So, you know, I've heard some classical music before, and I'm sure one day I'll be like, I want to listen to some classical music today, you know, and it'll take me down a rabbit hole, and I'll learn a ton about it and go through it, and you know, maybe sometime I'll do music from the 40s, you know, or music from every. I want to explore every genre and every era of music if I can, because I think that there's gems everywhere. I think that there's even gems today. Maybe it's underground stuff, less well known, but I'm pretty sure there's even great artists that are still making music, that are up and coming artists. I hope maybe one day I'm one of them. That'd be nice. But that's yeah.
What's the song or the artist that get the most requests that you still haven't done?
Good question. Let me think. There's actually quite a few, and I don't keep a tally of requests, and I don't really have a list.
Yeah.
You know, some people tell me sometimes put it on your list, and that goes with my prime directive or whatever of I'm doing what I would like to listen to at the time as opposed to whatever's most requested. But let me think. An artist that's been requested a lot that I have not done yet. I'm like blanking right now. There's a lot of artists that I'll do like once and they'll be requested a ton more afterward, you know. Actually, a great example of that is Kate Bush. I did a couple songs. I did one song by her, then went like a long period without doing anything else. Then did another one, and I'll still get in the comments of videos that have nothing to do with Kate Bush, people requesting Kate Bush or saying it's time for you to get back to doing this artist, and that has been the case with a few others as well. Chicago's another one that I have not done in a minute. And people have been requesting it. Then there'll be people who get mad that I do lots of Yes or lots of Steely Dan, you know, that I'm spending too much time with one artist when there's other artists. You know, there's a lot of different things going on. Well, it's interesting.
Let me just give you two things that you may explore sometime in the future. They're not requests. If you ever want to explore psychedelic music more than, like I mentioned, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida and how there are other songs by Iron Butterfly. But there's a group considered the first American psychedelic pop group called 13th Floor Elevators. And they have a great song about drug use called Slip Inside This House. It's about an 8-minute song, so it's one of these epic ones. But
awesome.
13th Floor Elevators, your dad might know of them. Ask him. And the second one, I would say, since you've done a few Led Zeppelin, the album of Led Zeppelin that's always overlooked is Led Zeppelin 3. And since you did Styx Renegade, a similar song is called Gallows Pole. It's an old country song from the Gallows Pole by Led Zeppelin. I think it's better than Styx Renegade, and Styx Renegade is a great song, but I think Led Zeppelin were better overall musicians. So if you ever get a chance to check some of them out. So finally, let me just ask, you talked about the end game of someday having sort of an artistic media empire. But in the short term, do you want to be a professional musician, or are you going to have a day job once you get out of high school, or what's in the next 3 or 4 years, say, your plan?
All right, so let's see. My plan. I'm gonna keep on trying to get work in the entertainment industry. I've mentioned before that I'm an actor, you know. But then another thing that's very interesting about this channel is that with 20,000 or whatever followers,
Yeah.
there might be 1% of those who don't only watch for my reactions to music, but who like actually enjoy my take on things.
Mhm.
So much so that they would want to hear if I made music or want to see if I was acting in something, you know?
Mm.
And that type of support, I hope I'll be able to maybe create something that will have an audience, you know? Because you can't be successful without an audience, you know?
Yeah.
You can't, if you're not, you can't be successful as an artist specifically without having people who care about what you're doing. So in the coming while, I want to try and make an EP or an album. I don't know which I'm gonna go with because I need to work on it. I need to work on my craft. Need to work on my songwriting. I need to really work on my singing ability because I don't really like my own voice. But yeah, so there's that. And I already have, you can't see it because it's on the floor, but I have stacks and stacks of papers, binders, and notebooks filled with ideas and concepts and songs and progressions of like, I write my own little notation for chords, which is not, I mean, I know the names of the major chords, but past that, I'll just write the tab and then put a number to correspond to that tab or chord. So I'll have different chord progressions, all types of stuff that I want to use to make an album if I can. I might also try to make some type of book or short story compilation book, which I'm hoping. I have a lot of different concept ideas. Some of these I'm going to file away for future reference, But I'm hoping maybe I can make short stories that can be enhanced by songs. And then make music or an album of music that has like a book to go with it. And each song corresponds to like one of the chapter. And then there'd be an overarching theme to the whole thing. It's, I guess you'd call it some type of shared media or a combination of multiple types of media, similar to the way you'd watch a music video while listening to a song, only with written word.
A rock opera novel.
I'll try. We'll try. It's kind of ambitious and it's just an idea, but something.
I will link to Dicon Dissectional below this video. People can check you out. 2 bits of advice I want to give you with almost 4 decades on you. The first one is regarding beware maxims, which maxim is a piece of advice. And I know sometimes that's contradictory, me saying that, but I remember one of your videos you were talking about, it might have been in your interview with JP too, talking about people being too safe. One of the things you'll find as you meet more artists is everyone has their own way of creating. And some people need to be safe. They need to not push themselves and go slow. So every time you give out a piece of advice, be aware that it's only going to fit for a certain amount of people. There will be other people which will be terrible. And my second advice is if you do get big and famous or whatnot, beware of obsessed stalker fans, because if you get an email one day with a girl sending you, photos of her all beautiful and saying, "Oh, I saw you in that commercial, Daniel. Oh, let's meet." Be very wary. But anyway, it was great talking to you.
Thank you so much.
You're an intelligent young man, and I'll get this up. So thank you very much.
Really appreciate it, man. Thank you.